Aston Villa 1, West Ham United 1. It is the Babbling Review Show. A fantastic second half performance from West Ham and some really, really encouraging and positive signs to take away from how Graham Potter approached us. But before we even get into that, I want to say a massive thank you for us reaching 3,000 subscribers on the channel. Massively appreciate it, every single one of you that have subscribed and been part of this journey so far. If you haven't already, do subscribe, as the next target is 4,000. And yeah, we want to hit that as soon as possible. But yeah, really appreciate everyone's support so far. And yeah, Graham Potter, I think his first game at West Ham was obviously against Aston Villa in the FA Cup. So plenty of learnings to take away from that. And I thought, especially as we get into the second half, we were absolutely fantastic. And the players themselves deserve a lot of credit for how they approached the second half. And look, the first half was a little bit slower, which we will get into. But I think overall, most West Ham fans are really happy with that performance. And I know those that travelled up to Villa Park, including myself, that second half, we were right behind the team and, yeah, deservedly got at least a point from this game. So let's take a look at the lineups and how we approached it. So we knew that we had a lot of issues at the back with injuries, suspensions. So Kufau and Cresswell, either side of Kilman in the back three. Areola actually came in goal for Fabianski as well. We played this wasn't how it was in game. I don't know why it's like this, but Souček and Alvarez were actually the pivot, with Emerson left wing back, Wan-Bissaka right wing back, and then you had Paqueta striker, and Kudus and Soler were kind of the two number 10s. So it's slightly wrong on this screenshot here, but that's how we set up. The stats from the game are as follows. So we actually had more possession, higher XG with 1.31 to their 0.85, same number of shots, same number of shots on target. We had 4 big chances and missed 3 of them. Villa had 0. And we made more passes, more accurate passes, committed slightly more fouls, and had 1 less corner than Villa. And I think this momentum graph shows and illustrates the difference in the two halves. I think Villa, by and large, played slightly better in the first half and deservedly took the lead early on. I thought they started really bright. But the second half, you can see there the blue of West Ham massively in favour of us. And that was the pattern of the game. I think we just started really, really slow. There are a few players coming in that, again, haven't really got enough game time to get up to speed with the intensity. And we knew Villa were going to be tired going into this one. And we knew that if Villa were going to threat, it was likely going to be in the earlier stages of the game when they were fresher and they had, the energy levels to compete in the Premier League. And, competing with Champions League and Premier League is so difficult. We saw it with Europe, but Villa were fantastic in the first moments. We were terrible. We were giving the ball away. Edson Alvarez was really sloppy. He was jumping out. Cresswell, his passing, everyone was just really, really poor, and we couldn't keep the ball. And Aston Villa were pressing us high. We just struggled a little bit. I think the confidence wasn't there at this point in the match. And yeah, we paid the ultimate price. So let's break down the first goal. It's actually identical to how we actually scored at Villa Park in the FA Cup. So, if you remember last time, I believe it was Kilman who was in this position who had the ball where Cresswell is. But it all comes from this, where we play a long ball into whoever the number 9 is. So on this day, it was Paqueta. On the other day, it was Fulcrook. And we tried to beat this early Villa press by going a bit more direct and having the likes of Kudus and Soler bouncing off of Paqueta. However, the ball from Cresswell was poor. It kind of goes into Cash and where Emerson is, the left wing back here. Emerson does really, really poor here. He doesn't even challenge Cash for the ball. He kind of shies away from it. So that's, again, like 2 mistakes already there. So Cresswell's pass into Paqueta isn't good enough, as you can see where it ends up here. And Emerson doesn't challenge hard enough on this situation. We then move it forwards, and Ramsey picks up a really nice pocket of space here. Souček just lets him go on the blind side of his shoulder. And just want to highlight there at the back there, you've got Kilman and Kufau. Their body positions are good here. They're waiting for either the pass to be played through to Watkins so Kilman can come across and cover. And Kufau's also in a good position where he can drop off if needed. However, Kufau makes a really crucial mistake. So Watkins ends up coming short instead of going in behind, gets the ball here. And you'll see Ramsey's making the run off Souček. So again, that's another mistake there. Souček should try and go with Ramsey here if possible. But Kufau, in this situation, you can see how squared up he is to the ball. And when you're doing that in the Premier League, especially with Kufau, the age he is, with the injuries he's had, against someone like Ramsey, who is really explosive, he's just going to get beat to the ball. So Kufau makes the mistake of squaring up here, and it just gives Ramsey that extra half a yard of space to get in front of him and get the shot off here. And, Ramsey takes a touch round Kufau. Kufau hasn't, again, because he needs to adjust his positioning, and he hasn't got the legs on Ramsey. And Ramsey gets there, and Ramsey's finish is fantastic on his left foot. Really good finish into the bottom right-hand corner. Areola didn't have any chance with this one, but you can see the differences. So, a couple of weeks ago in the FA Cup, we executed that perfectly from the build-up, and we used Fulcrook's physicality to beat Aston Villa's early press. On this occasion, it was Cresswell who was playing it into, or trying to play into Paqueta. It wasn't good enough. It went to the left-hand side more. Cash beats Emerson, and then in the midfield, we're too slow. We're not sharp enough at this moment in time to compete with Aston Villa. And, Kufau as well, squaring up there, cannot do that. And yeah, look, Kufau got better as the game went on, but that was an early mistake and it cost us. And as I say, great finish from Ramsey, and Villa deservedly leading at this point. And they were really piling on the pressure. They obviously had the disallowed goal from, I think it was Watkins that was offside. And they were just, we were really poor. We just didn't know what to do. In possession, we were really slow, really sloppy. Aston Villa were just pushing us high up the pitch, and we weren't really doing anything on the other side. We had a couple of nice moments with Kudus, but by and large, that first half wasn't good enough. But what I will say in the first half is, despite the lack of threat and the lack of intensity, you could say, in how we were playing and how sharp we were on the ball, there was still a clear ideation and philosophy about Graham Potter and what he's trying to do. And we saw it in the first moment against Aston Villa in the FA Cup. But just to re-emphasize here, this is how we want to play under Graham Potter. It doesn't matter the personnel. He will stick to this where possible. And you can see, look, the back three there, Cresswell, Kilman, Kufau, the midfield pivot of Souček and Alvarez. You've then got your two number 10s in Soler and Kudus bouncing off Paqueta, so almost forming that really close triangle. And I think we saw the effectiveness of that in the second half. And then you've got Emerson and Aaron Wan-Bissaka providing the width and creating the space for West Ham in wide areas, pushing up and almost going and making a front four or a front five when we're in possession. And for a team like Aston Villa, I think as the game went on, and obviously the injury to Tyrone Mings definitely didn't help that, but Villa play very, very compact. They play that high line, but they play very compact with the way they play, and they allow a lot of opportunities in the wider areas. And as the game went on, and as fatigue set in, we're going to see the ramifications of playing that style in some of these illustrations. But by and large, as I said, first half, there wasn't really much for West Ham to shout about. I think the ideas were there. We were just lacking the intensity. We were lacking the execution, and just lacking the overall, confidence levels. We've said this team thrives on confidence. When they're confident, they're playing really well. When they're not confident, it's very evident. But yeah, second half, I think Graham Potter noticed a couple of things. So number one, that fatigue was setting in for Aston Villa, and they weren't tracking back, and the back four was almost getting quite isolated in how we were playing. So that allowed the threat of what we'll see in the second half to happen. And number two was, we had the license to be more aggressive and push Aston Villa further back, and that's exactly what we did. And Graham Potter deserves all the credit for that. And our first chance actually comes from West Ham being more aggressive, being more concise with our passing, and bouncing off of players. So Alvarez in this situation, in the first half, he probably would have recycled possession out to Kilman or to Kufau, and we would have tried to look to move around the areas of the pitch where we could. However, on this instance, Alvarez plays a really nice pass between the lines, and Paqueta, you can see there, the advantage of having Paqueta, who was fantastic, by the way, as the number 9 or false 9, however you want to describe him. He's fantastic at picking up these positions when he plays there, because he's such an intelligent footballer that he'll find these pockets of space. And it makes it really difficult for the Aston Villa defenders to, do they go in? Do they sit off? If they do go in, it allows the space for someone like Kudus to run in behind. So they were kind of in a catch-22 position. And, the ball in is fantastic from Alvarez. Paqueta, one touch, first time pass into Kudus. And we mentioned there about having those two number 10s either side of your striker. When you have someone technically gifted like Paqueta, it makes it very easy for someone like Kudus or Soler to play these intricate moments with Paqueta. And then that frees up the space out wide. So that's exactly what happens here. Kudus picks up the ball. He passes it out to Wan-Bissaka. And then he's instantly making that run. But this was the first instance, 51 minutes into the game, 6 minutes into the second half, where we started to see where West Ham could get success. So I've circled it there. Midfield three of Aston Villa there, very tight in. Ramsey was playing really tight inside, and it was allowing Wan-Bissaka so much space on the outside, and Emerson on the other side, because Bailey was playing right wing. Again, he's not the type of profile that's going to drop back in and do the dirty work. a lot of the times when Aston Villa are defending off the ball, Rodgers would be playing on the right, for example, and he'd drop in to almost make a back five to stop those overloads. But Aston Villa weren't doing that. So it allowed that left-hand side of the pitch where Emerson was to create overloads. And that's exactly what we targeted 5, 6, 7 times, 8 times in the second half. And we got real success from it. And if I just move this further forwards, you'll see here, look, Emerson at the top of your screen, he's created that overload on that side. Wan-Bissaka does well here to put in the ball. Emerson knocks it back for Paqueta in this situation. Paqueta swivels fantastically onto his right foot, and his effort just goes wide of the post. But the intent there, that sequence there set the precedent for the entire second half for West Ham and Aston Villa, and it allowed our confidence to flourish. And you could see as soon as that moment triggered, not only were the fans in that away end, boosted by what we'd just seen, but also the intensity of the players just went up a level. We were starting to be really aggressive. We were pressing high. Whenever Aston Villa had a goal kick, we were set up really high up and stopping them from playing through in the best way possible, and almost going very, very aggressive from our back line to front line. And we started to reap the rewards of that. And yeah, I think West Ham deserve fantastic credit for the approach in the second half. Every single player was on it. Max Kilman, Wan-Bissaka, Paqueta, all of these players were outstanding. And being in that away end, you just sensed something. You could feel that we were going to create something that would get us a goal. I really was standing there thinking, I really fancy us to get a goal here. I think it's just a matter of time if we continue in the same vein. And that's exactly what we did. Let's move it on to this next one. And you'll see, 3 minutes after the first clip, that clip I just showed you, we're being very aggressive again. So this is from Aston Villa trying to play out. And you can see, West Ham, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 West Ham players in your shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Aston Villa players in your shot, including the goalkeeper. So going really aggressive, but in a much more structured way. And if I just move it forwards here, literally 3 seconds, this is what coaching will allow us to do, and recognizing dangers or situations where we can effectively win the ball back from Aston Villa. Aston Villa take way too long on the ball here, but every single player is shutting down an option for Aston Villa. They're not able to switch to play. Really, he should go back to Martinez here as a safe spot and just go long and recycle. But they're trying to play these intricate passes. But Wan-Bissaka is ready to go. Kudus is ready to go. And then you've got Alvarez, Soler, Paqueta forming a triangle around Kamara to stop him playing through or switching the play. And then we move it forwards. Paqueta actually wins the ball in that situation. And then we find ourselves with Wan-Bissaka, who again was absolutely outstanding up and down the pitch. He finds himself in this situation. And again, I just want to illustrate what was happening in that second half with the overloads, because what you're seeing here is Aston Villa's back four highlighted. So Cash, Konsa, Digne's gone to centre back, and Maatsen left back. But over on the far left-hand side, that's where we were creating the overload. That's where Emerson is. And that's where Leon Bailey is, you can see there. So in this instance, Leon Bailey is tucking in, but he doesn't really stick with Emerson in this situation. And you'd always fancy Emerson to just get on the blind shoulder of Bailey. And because, again, Villa tried to play really compact, really narrow, that high line, it just allowed that space for crosses to come in. And if we move it forwards again, we play Wan-Bissaka, if I just move it back, actually, he plays a really nice backheel pass into the path of Kufal, who was, again, really helping on that right-hand side as well. And you can just see Emerson at the top of your screen there. He's just got the run, and he gets into this position on Bailey, but it's such an awkward position that he just can't get his shot clean enough. If this is, a little bit lower and he can connect with his foot rather than his knee, it's a goal. It's a goal 9 times out of 10 because he gets himself into a really good position. But those were the intents from West Ham. And it was clear from Graham Potter that we wanted to move towards this right-hand side as much as possible and create overloads on the left-hand side, because Aston Villa were tiring. We were getting great success in wide areas because of how narrow Aston Villa play traditionally, and also because of that fatigue setting in. So we kept going, we kept probing, and we got our rewards with 20 minutes left on the clock. And it all comes from this situation, playing out from a goal kick. We do go, I think we get it to Kilman. We go a little bit direct into Kudus. Kudus does get a little bit tackled here, but again, Souček ready to win the second ball, something we weren't doing in the first half. And there you can see, you can see Ramsey's position that I've highlighted there. He's really tucked in, really, really narrow. And it just allowed us to play out to Wan-Bissaka so many times and, create so many dangerous areas for Aston Villa. And yeah, on this occasion, Souček played a really nice pass out to Kufal. Kufal passed it to Wan-Bissaka. And again, Kufal's on his bike, ready to create an overload. And again, illustrating that back four from Aston Villa, really tight, really compact where possible. And then you've just got Emerson drifting in at the left-hand side at the back post there. So instantly you can see, we are creating those overloads. And Bailey's actually come off at this point, and Marlon's come on. You can see Marlon there. He's pretty narrow. He's pretty tucked in. So this is actually okay from Aston Villa, but they need to recognise the danger of Emerson and what we're creating. And this, I love this. This just again completely sums up what we were trying to do, and crosses into the box. Aston Villa trying to play that high line that they do to keep West Ham offside. So Cash has got an awful lot to deal with. We've got three players. I think it's Souček, Soler, and Paqueta in between Concer and Cash there. And Marlon, look, he's drifted inside. His attention is on the ball right now inside that yard box there. And you can see Emerson just hanging back, just drifting in, and Alvarez recognizes it. And Alvarez plays in a fantastic pass right on the money to Emerson. And Emerson's header is fantastic. And West Ham find themselves back in the game at 1-1. And at the moment, you were sensing something. We really thought that we were going to go on and get all 3 points in this situation. We probably should have with the chances that we created. And yeah, obviously we had our disallowed goal of Paqueta right at the end, which was offside. We had a couple of things in the first half with, red cards, yellow cards. I mean, how Tyrone Mings didn't get booked for just picking up the ball when the ball was in play is absurd. And yeah, obviously the red card situation, I'm not even going to get into because the whole sequence was pretty pathetic, to be honest. But again, I've been over VAR so many times on this channel, I just can't be bothered for the conversation. I'd rather focus on West Ham's performance, and it really was fantastic. And, let's move it forwards here because one player, so I've mentioned, Wan-Bissaka, he was absolutely outstanding. Defensively, he was winning his duels, but offensively, he was just providing such a threat. And, Aston Villa really couldn't deal with it. Paqueta as the number 9, he went in there and did an absolutely outstanding job. His hold-up play was excellent. His strength on the ball was fantastic. His link-up play with Kudus and Soler was really, really good. And to be honest, he deserved a goal. He really did deserve a goal from his performance. But, Paqueta was fantastic. But Max Kilman, our only fit centre-back right now, and the only one that was, we were looking on him, depending on him to command that back line and help, having the help of Cresswell and Kufal, but they're not traditional centre-backs. So he's playing in a back three system, pretty much, by himself with Cresswell and Kufal either side of him. And he took that responsibility on fantastically. I don't remember him losing a duel in the air. He may have done, but from memory, I don't remember him losing one. He was absolutely fantastic on the ball, and his reading of the game was excellent. And this illustrates Max Kilman. So the ball comes into Kufal, plays it into him here, and Villa are then ready to press in. So what Kilman does is he shapes his body up to pass to Cresswell, and you'll see Kilman do this, time and time again. He's really good at it. And if I move it on a sequence, he's already gone into here. So he's created that space for himself to drive into the center of the pitch. And this shows his quality. So that diagonal ball into Wan-Bissaka is a fantastic pass. And we actually managed to get across into the box here. And we're so close to winning it with Danny Ings. His shot just went wide of the post. And yeah, we were just creating Aston Villa all sorts of problems. But really unfortunate not to win the game. I think it's a fantastic point for West Ham and so many positives there to take from the intensity of that second half, the approach from individuals, and also the approach of the team and what Graham Potter set up his team to do. Because it was clear, we've said it numerous times when we play Aston Villa. Unai Emery, as the coach, has often been the one that could change a game when things aren't going his way, or recognize something in that moment and change it to adapt to how it could suit Aston Villa. Well, Graham Potter did that in the second half for West Ham. So we're not only seeing a structure behind what West Ham are trying to do right now, but also a little bit of flexibility and in-game management from Graham Potter and his coaching team, because he recognised, again, very, very quickly that Aston Villa were fatiguing, that back four was getting isolated. We can probably afford to go for it a bit here. It may have backfired, it may have cost us if Aston Villa were a bit more, I don't know, prominent on their counter-attacks. But there weren't too many occasions where Aston Villa were completely tearing West Ham apart in the second half. I thought our structure was pretty good for large parts of that second half. But overall, really, really good point. I think Really happy with the performance. Graham Potter alluded to it himself in the post-match conference. The performance was fantastic, and he was really proud of that from West Ham. And the response in the second half was fantastic. And again, someone like Ollie Scholes coming into the fray, another youth player that Graham Potter is trusting and giving vital in-game minutes to in the Premier League at this standard. It's fantastic. And Scholes himself was absolutely outstanding when he came on. Defensively, there were two occasions where he tackled the winger over on the right-hand side and set West Ham off. There was one occasion where he won the ball in a really good area and almost played Paqueta through with an incredible through pass. So the early signs are there for Graham Potter that he's, implementing his style, number one. Number two, getting the players to understand what he wants to do. And it looks like it is coming together a little bit, piece by piece. Still a long, long way to go. Still players to come back in after injuries and suspensions, and still work to do in the transfer window. But by and large, West Ham look so much better structurally. There's going to be games that frustrate, but these types of games, we're going to see the best out of Graham Potter's teams because, Aston Villa were affording us way too much space in wide areas, and players like Wan-Bissaka and Emerson are going to thrive off those positions. But as I said, everyone was really, really good yesterday, especially in the second half. I think Souček as well, another really good honourable mention from him. I know he should have done better for Aston Villa's goal early on, but by and large, he was winning so many duels in there, and him and Alvarez run their socks off in the midfield. Alvarez, again, needs to learn to manage his excitement at times. He should have been sent off for that second yellow. And again, he's done that twice this season. So that's just an individual characteristic he needs to change, because by and large, he was fantastic yesterday. But it's moments like that that are going to let him down in the future if he continues to play like that. But, he was aggressive. Kudus as well, frustrating, but at times really good. Paqueta, outstanding. Soler, I thought, was a little bit quiet. He was probably the quietest of that front three. Emerson as well was a little bit quiet, but came up with a goal. I think Scholes was actually getting ready to come on before Emerson scored. So that kind of was an indication that he was probably one of the players that was being looked at bringing off. And also Wan-Bissaka. I mean, he was absolutely outstanding. And then you look at your back three, Cresswell and Kufal haven't had many minutes. The age they're at, playing in the back three, they deserve credit for how they played. I thought by and large, they were very good. And Kilman himself, outstanding. Those, I would say, those four players or those five players. So you've got Kilman, Paqueta, Wan-Bissaka, Alvarez, Souček. Those five for me were the standouts. And yeah, I think Kilman deserves so much credit for his performance, not only today, but for how he has performed for West Ham throughout this season, because he was fantastic against Aston Villa. And to be honest, on another day, could have got man of the match, but there were a few players that were just so good that it's hard to give it to him. For me, Wan-Bissaka gets man of the match. It was really close between Paqueta, Wan-Bissaka, and Kilman. But for me, I think Wan-Bissaka was the difference. He provided so much energy on that right-hand side and so much attacking threat, but also defensively, he was sprinting back, working his socks off, putting in challenges. He was outstanding. And yeah, I'm going to give man of the match for me to Wan-Bissaka. But let me know your thoughts in the comments for how we played, the result. I think it's a great point considering everything. Villa's a tough place to go, no matter the fatigue that they've got and, the fact they're playing Champions League. That's irrelevant to me right now. It's all about West Ham's performance and how we're playing. Getting a point from Villa Park under any circumstance is a good point. So we definitely take that. We've now got Chelsea in a week's time on Monday night. So that's going to be interesting to see how we set up in that game. Obviously, Graham Potter with a point to prove going back to Stamford Bridge. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the game down below in the comments. Who would you give man of the match to? How did you see the first half and the second half? Anything I've missed here, yeah, let me know in the comments. And yeah, as I said, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. And as I said at the beginning, thank you so much for everyone that has subscribed so far. 3,000 subscribers is a massive achievement for us. So we're looking to now push on to 4,000. And yeah, so glad that so many of you are part of it. And yeah, we're going to keep producing content throughout the year. So we'll be back. Yeah, hopefully we can take this confidence going into the next game. And who knows, we might even have a couple of January signings before that Chelsea game. But yeah, hopefully we do. We move onwards. Graham Potter's certainly starting to put his blueprint on this team. And we're starting to see some really good moments from West Ham. So hopefully it continues. That's going to be all for today. And until the next one, come on, you Irons.